2023. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Crum. Here. Councilmember Olson. Here. Councilmember Armstrong. Here. Councilmember Martin. Here. Councilmember McDermott.
Here. Press approval of the November 20th minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Under unfinished business, have public hearing regarding the proposed additional appropriation for the general fund, ordinance 1744-2023. When I open the public hearing, if anybody has anything to say, we ask to please give your name and address for the record, please. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Hearing no remarks, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Ordinance 1744-2023, additional appropriation ordinance for the city of Angola, Indiana, Park non-reverting capital fund, second reading. Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. So, ordinance 1744-2023, third reading.
Second. You can't leave.
Control at the end of the year. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Under new business, ordinance number 1745-2023, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Angola, Indiana. First reading, Jennifer.
This is a rezone request that was approved unanimously from your plan commission. It is in the plaza where Big B Coffee is, Domino's. It's an empty storefront. They're wishing to move gun sales into this location. So in order to do that, they need to rezone. It's also a special exception in that district, which the BZA did conditionally approve on the condition the rezone goes through.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I move to approve the motion.
Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Resolution number 2023-859, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Angola, Indiana, adopting the Downtown Angola Master Plan. Jennifer?
So this is probably about 6 months in the making. I think all of you participated to some degree over the summer with HWC, who works with the city and Trine University to update our downtown master plan. It was last done in 2008. So this is a short summary of what we did. So it's really collaborating with different stakeholders in the downtown. We're looking for funding for projects. Is land use appropriate? What we're currently doing. So those are the bigger questions that we looked at. We did a 3-day charrette with HWC in town. They held public workshops, open studios. We did surveys both with the general public and Trine students. All that information. Sorry, this isn't working with me. All the individual touches that we made throughout the community. So really good input overall. The recommendations that came out of this, and again, this is a very quick summary to the overall plan, was that connection for Trine University into Commons Park. What could we do along that connection, such as improving Imagination Alley, which Main Street is already working on, bringing it down to Gale Street from that southwest quad, to bigger projects like downtown housing. All right, this thing really stinks. Looking at revitalizing different blocks There we go. As things come for sale or we do have quite a few vacant lots that have just been used, has been absorbed into other properties over the years. So looking at revitalizing different areas, hitting that, it's a buzzword, that missing middle. So something besides really urban, but not single family detached. We're looking for that more affordable pricing. Let's try this. Again, here's Imagination Alley, activating back of house. We've done a really good job with our facade grants, improving those facades. So this is just the natural next step, is to turn to the backside. Activating public spaces that we have. This summer, Main Street hosted Food Truck Friday, which was really popular, and activating this park next to the courthouse. And then also the next step is really what's next for the courthouse. So this was an idea that came out, a brewery. And again, it's just, think big. What could we possibly do here? Again, we had a lot of different participation, really leveraging the Historic Preservation Commission, and along with our partnership with Angola Main Street. This is another area we looked at, our gateways into the downtown. How do we redevelop those and make us more identifiable? That was one of the public input things. And again, redeveloping housing. So if a trail is along Gale Street, how can we activate and reutilize some of those areas? So this resolution is before you for the adoption. This downtown master plan goes in with our comprehensive plan, and we'll use it for any projects in the area of downtown as the Planning Commission and other organizations move forward. Do you have any questions?
The park next to the courthouse is owned by the county,
Correct.
and the courthouse is owned by the county.
Correct.
What involvement did the county officials have in the suggestions of what to do with the courthouse?
Sure. They all attended at one point the steering committee sessions. They were sent all the information as far as surveys, different things. So they were all involved. Yes. Mhm.
But no official things were made by the county on this?
No.
Okay.
Jennifer, what would you say the average age of your participants? Not scientific, just
Yeah, to just go off the top of my head, the surveys were really, it's what we're highest in demographically is how that shows is, the 40 to 50, maybe a little older women, that was the highest demographic that responded. Students, it's such a small age range. We didn't even look at the demographics. They're students at trying. So that was the highest responders.
the only reason I ask is that I know that this market that has been identified is definitely a need.
Mhm.
But I think we're forgetting young families.
Mhm.
Let's not forget outdoor space for kids,
Mhm.
because I think that's going to make or break the project.
Yeah, I would challenge the shift is really in that missing middle conversation is that young families aren't looking for large yards. They don't want to do a lot.
Well, I'm not talking about yards. I'm talking about public
Yeah.
play space.
So they want that more densified housing where they don't have to take care of as much, and then the spaces that they can go. So yeah, this does tie in to even Matt has updated his strategic plan for the parks as well. So it all kind of goes together at the end of the day, working on these simultaneously.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I will entertain a motion.
To approve the master plan for downtown.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Nay. Motion carried. Ordinance 1746-2023, ordinance amending the City of Angola, Indiana Unified Development Ordinance by adding provisions thereto and deleting provisions thereof. We're working you hard tonight, Jennifer.
Yeah. When I started, I was handed a list that my predecessor had also worked on of different divisions within the UDO that there are some complications with and could be approved upon. So we entered into a contract a year and a half ago with Hometown Initiative. Amber Bassett is here. I'll let her go through. We put together, this is a synopsis of the changes. But yeah, we've been working on it ever since. So this is what we're moving forward with.
Good evening. I will try to keep this short because ordinance updates are very boring, especially this one. We were very focused on the administrative clerical side processes, all of that fun stuff, the day-to-day in office, but not necessarily affecting the built environment. So I would say 90% of the changes that before you are really just to help staff and the plan commission make sure we're making the right decisions, the right approval processes, things are being accepted at the appropriate time, and there's consistency throughout the UDO and throughout the processes for the city of Angola. And so with that being said, I'm going to just quickly try to run through all of the divisions, give you a synopsis, and then highlight some of the bigger things that are going to affect the built environment. So quickly, Division 1. Right now, that's your general provisions. That includes your definitions, your ordinance foundation, and it includes your land use matrix and all of those fun things. So we looked very closely at the definitions. We wanted to make sure that they were consistent with the land use matrix, with the zoning districts, and with what's currently happening in the city of Angola currently. We amended things, we added definitions, and we removed some as well. And then we also looked at the land use matrix where we reorganized that alphabetically, and we made some of the changes within that. Our goal was to kind of loosen up those standards rather than be really strict with our land uses, while also respecting existing land uses, adjacent properties, all of those fun things. Division 2, the only things we changed there were the permitted land uses and the special exception land uses, only to be consistent with the changes we made in the land use matrix. So there's nothing new there. Division 3, overlay and special districts. This sets up your planned development districts. So if someone wanted to come into the city and they had a special district that they wanted to propose, they would have to have a base zoning ordinance of certain zoning districts. We went ahead and made that every single existing zoning district can be a base zoning district. This allows, if there's a special project out in your ETJ, this allows for those to not have to go through a second hurdle of rezoning it twice to get that planned development district. Division 4, which is your subdivisions, is kind of the basis of your subdivision, and it's extended further in Division 5. But in Division 4, we looked at clarifying some language updates, ensuring that the sidewalk and side path widths were consistent throughout the entire city. And we also wanted to ensure there were a few zoning districts that if someone wanted to subdivide in, they did not have any procedures or processes. So we wanted to make sure that we got those covered. And those are neighborhood commercial district and downtown commercial district. Those are now incorporated in the commercial development subdivision type. And then high intensity zoning district is now within the industrial park subdivision type. We created a incentive standards section, which we're going to talk about a little bit further, and that's something that we are excited for. Division 5, design standards. This really talks about the premises of when someone wants to come in with a new development, a new subdivision of land, what standards have to be met, your widths, your lots, all of those tedious and fun, exciting things. So, we wanted to generally loosen those up to support and encourage development, not create unnecessary hurdles. But we also wanted to make sure we're protecting the city as we're going through that as well. We also created the incentive standards for non-residential developments, as I discussed previously. Right now, you guys have residential incentives for housing subdivisions, but you don't have any for commercial or industrial subdivisions. So we went ahead and included those. And just briefly, those include a parking lot standard. So if a development has parking in the rear and the side yards, then they can decrease their front yard setback. And for parking material and landscaping, you can either have 40% of your driveway and parking areas permeable, or you can increase landscaping standards, and that would allow for a lot coverage increase. So rather than a max of 70% lot coverage, now you could have 75 or 80, depending on which zoning district you're in. For incentive for a shared drainage facility, this would be at the very beginning of the approval process at the primary plat. So if a large subdivision wants to come in of commercial and industrial lots, instead of them each having their own retention area on their lot, they can go ahead and have a common drainage area, which is very similar to what your residential subdivisions do. And this takes the burden, especially off of those smaller lots, of having to include everything they need and also the drainage and retention. It kind of helps allow for that. And then finally, this is just for industrial park. It's an anti-monotony. They would have to comply with the architectural standards that are already in place. And if they do, then they could have a decreased setback. From there, we were looking at our street and access options. Currently, the city of Angola has really two streets and access options that they respect. And those are a public street and a private street. And the problem with the private street is it's required to be built like a public street. The easement has to be the same as a right-of-way. The lanes have to be, everything has to be the public street, other than the fact that the city is not going to own and maintain it. This is good in some cases, but in other cases, like when you have a Myers or Menards or Walmart and they have a sea of parking and then a small little road that wraps around, if another lot wants to connect to that road, they cannot currently. It's not respected as such. So this sets up provisions for that, allowing an access street, making sure that that connectivity and all those legal issues are accounted for and are there and appropriate for those lots. And then finally in Division 5, we noticed that there was some discrepancy in street lighting standards between residential districts and development. So we wanted to across the board street lighting requirements were the same in residential. Division 6, this is your development standards. This is where you're going to see the day-to-day permitting. We didn't touch this section at all. We updated the references, but that was it. Other than removing chapter 18.168, which is your floodplain standards. And the only reason we did that is because the DNR approved flood hazard area ordinance already resides in AMC 15.20. So we don't want to step on DNR's toes. We don't want to step on that ordinance. So we just removed it entirely from this ordinance, which should have been done at the time of adoption previously. And then finally, Division 7, administrative. We really went through this with a fine-tooth comb, make sure the processes aligned with what was happening here, were consistent within each other, within the city. And we looked at a few different things that we wanted to add to, again, kind of ease that pressure for developers, property owners, and even the Plan Commission. Some of the big things that we looked at was we reorganized and got some of the chapters that were kind of excluded by themselves. It made sense to be with other ones. So we did a lot of reorganization with that. And then we also rewrote the subdivision of land process entirely. And we created 3 subdivision types, which can be approved by different entities. And those are the administrative subdivision. This would allow Jennifer and her staff, if someone wants to slightly move a lot line or the neighbors have a vacant lot between them and they want to buy it together and then split that lot, this allows them to be able to do that in-house without having a public hearing, without having to take it to Plan Commission, without having to have all these surveys on surveys on surveys. And it's a more simple process that's hopefully nice for property owners and the Plan Commission as well. There are provisions in that section which very detailed outlines what the staff can approve what they cannot approve. And if they cannot approve something, if it needs to go to plat committee or to the plan commission, which brings me to my second option, which is the minor plat. The minor plat is a pretty minimal subdivision. So it's 3 or less lots. They can't be large, or they can't be a large subdivision. It cannot include a road. It can't include anything major like that. It's someone, we're probably going to see this more in your ETJ. Someone has old prop or farm ground and they want to subdivide into a couple of houses. And this would allow them to do that through the plat committee, which has a different public hearing process allowed by Indiana code. They still have a public hearing process. It's just navigated a little bit differently. And then finally, the major subdivision, which is what you see currently going to plan commission. Those are your new residential subdivisions and commercial subdivisions that you're going to see. Those are kind of the bigger deal. They're going to impact more people, and those are still going to plan commission, still have to have their public hearings. And then overall, we just really focused on cleaning up the language, ensuring that the processes and everything were in place the way that they need to be and the way that Angola wants them to be after Jennifer and I spoke. And we kind of looked at some of those highlights. I went over that really quickly. There are a lot of changes in here. So if you have any questions on any section, I would be more than happy to answer.
This is a lot. How many man hours did you have in this?
Oh gosh, I don't know. We've been working on it for about just shy of 18 months with a couple of breaks. Pretty on and off. It's fun. I love doing it.
So I will add, as far as the process goes, obviously we did a lot of the work. We did send through our normal, when projects get reviewed, we sent that through our plan review committees to review, as well as Amanda was more heavily involved in the other departments.
I think we had
as
like
well.
4 meetings that we went over in detail about everything that we were proposing.
And the plan commission did have extra time to review everything, ask questions, and ultimately recommended approval.
I could vouch for that.
Can I ask a couple questions just so I get it on?
Please.
First of all, I'd like to talk about private streets.
Sure.
Private streets, your comment was regarding commercial streets, commercial private streets. Argument would be going from Menards to Kohl's or something like that.
Right. So you have private streets existing.
Commercial or residential?
Either. It's
Okay.
for either development type. So it's how it's built. That's what's considered between a private and a public street, is how it's built and who maintains it. So currently how it sits is you have the public and the private. They are built the exact same way. The private does not typically have utilities in it, but requires everything else.
And no required upkeep.
Right. And
And no required upkeep.
not for the city, but for the developer.
When, I guess my concern is, I don't like private streets. I think private streets have been a pain in the neck in this community. And it's simply a way to get out of having to follow. And can emergency vehicles get down each of those?
The access streets, the one that we're proposing is called access streets. Yes, there's a lane.
Wide enough? It's
Yep.
wide enough.
Yep, I think each lane has to be 12 feet is what I recommended.
How is the city going to require, because we always get yelled at, the private street owner to maintain it?
You do have some maintenance clauses in your UDO, and when you're going through that review process, the plan commission can set commitments and standards up.
My best example is the McDonald's Road. McDonald's Road has been miserable over the years, and we just approved the changing of the zoning thing for the gun place, whatever.
Mhm.
That road is private and has been miserable. Yeah,
So I can speak to that a bit.
please.
Those properties are not platted. That all happened before this, even our 2008 code.
Absolutely.
So obviously, we're always going to have things from the past to try to clean up. But going forward, the process, the way this sets it up is through that subdivision, we will have much more, I guess, in line with what standards we want to see, and it's going to be upheld through that subdivision process, the maintenance of that.
And maintenance,
Yep.
Okay, so because one of the other things we're saying, and I'm just, since I'm on this one, it has to do with retention ponds.
Sure.
Our retention ponds have been an overwhelming issue.
Sure.
And the association or some
Go to funds.
Some vagrant group of people are going to take care of it, and then they don't.
Yep, so you have.
So then when we talk about setting up retention ponds,
Mhm.
and you don't have to have one for each lot,
Do-
how do we maintain some
It's-
sort of control over that?
Yep, it's the same situation where with these provisions, you're set up better to ensure maintenance and policy if that approval is set forth at the beginning. And hopefully, the Plan Commission and the UDO will catch those to make sure that all the appropriate language is on there. You do have some maintenance, and I'm not entirely sure if it's all on the Plan Commission or the Drainage Board too. I don't know how the County Drainage Board deals with drainage in Angola. Okay, I've worked with some communities. Okay, gotcha. Do you guys have like a stormwater management program? Then they can also get involved in the maintenance of that because that does affect the stormwater too.
Is there in the changes, is there any enforcement upon HOAs?
You have a huge enforcement section as far as drainage goes. We didn't really touch the enforcement section.
Which I'm asking questions.
But you do have an enforcement section that you can look at that. I don't know how Indiana law works with enforcement of subdivisions and ownership of common areas. I'd have to do a little bit more digging in that. But usually once that's handed over to the developer and the HOA, whoever that is, you might be able to enforce things. I would get an attorney involved.
Can you find out that first, Jeff?
That's when I would lean on your legal counsel and see what is appropriate to go after. And when that subdivision was platted, what ordinances were in place, what covenants and restrictions there are, and if the city has any authority over that.
My last question, I know you're paying. My last question is under the permitting process, once they come in front of Plan Commission or administrative
Sure.
activity, the developer gives us this beautiful, this is how the drainage is gonna work, and it's gonna go by my backyard, it's gonna turn right and go into your pond. But then when they develop it, when they actually move the dirt, that doesn't happen.
Amanda, I might.
So Amanda, you've seen that, we've seen that example.
You got hired for this. We talked to them, and we did remove some of that drainage language because the city already has that in a different ordinance, and that's correct, right?
How do we prevent some of the things we've been dealing with in the last 2 years regarding, I'm not saying they're bad, they just changed the topography.
I think one of the answers is more enforcement when the subdivision is being built. So when the subdivision is being built, utilities are going in, the roads are going in. We really need to enforce the developer to grade all of the lots to the grade they should be before we take over the roads and take over the all those things that developers want the city to do.
But that's the permitting process, that's during the permitting process. You have to have some
That's
sort
the
of
enforcement.
occupancy, which has to have some occupancy.
It is
Hold on.
the adoption of, and it's when the developer comes to the Board of Works and says, I'm done. Will you take over all of this stuff? It's at that point that the city has to say, you're not done because you haven't graded to these details.
Well, assuming they come in before they can sell lot one.
Yes, they have to.
So
And all of that is.
I've had
Sure.
issues over the last couple of years because we try to deal with this drainage issue, and it seemed like here's the perfect time to resolve some of this. So from now on.
Right, and all of that is listed in Division 7 under the subdivision of land processes, where when they come in for the secondary plat approval, because the infrastructure is not approved under the UDO, it's approved under the Board of Works. But under the secondary, they have to include all of those details, all the grading, all the contours, all of the drainage, assuming that the Board of Works has approved the as-built plans. The secondary plat relies on the as-built plan. So that's going to be under the Board of Works processes, which is not covered entirely by the UDO.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Move and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
1747-2023, an order amending the City of Angola, Indiana Code of Ordinances establishing fees for services of the Plan Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Historic Preservation Commission, and Economic Development and Planning Department. One more time. Jennifer, anything you want to say about this
Sure.
beforehand?
So with the update of Title 18, we looked at our fees, the categories, especially because of the subdivision standard. The standards were completely redone. They were just out of whack with how we would charge everything. So looking at that, we streamlined it to match Title 18. No fees were really increased. It's just a matter of matching it up with the actual ordinances.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the motion as presented.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. First reading is passed, so Jennifer, you just have to do a very good job here. Thank you. I know you guys all worked hard on this. Okay, resolution 2023-860, a resolution providing for the transfer of appropriations from the City of Angola for the general fund and forwarded to the Common Council for their action and passage pursuant to IC 6-1.1-18.6. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Next, we have a presentation by the Angola Main Street.
Mackenzie is here. As well and Crystal.
You're welcome.
Like school over again.
Except I handed you papers.
Taking your homework.
All right, so this is just kind of an annual review of what we've been doing this year for 2023. To start out, just have looking into the future. Some things that we've accomplished this year was we hosted our first ever Century Friendly Easter, where we had a Century Friendly bunny set up at a local downtown business, where families set up 15-minute time slots
Or by appointment.
by appointment to be able to come and enjoy Easter photos with an Easter bunny and be able to take their time and not kind of rush through. Just a little more inclusivity downtown, which is something we're hoping to focus on in the future. We also started our Hometown Hero project, which is the banner project we just installed for Veterans Day, when they were officially unveiled. We actually had 40 banners sponsored, and I already have a wait list for next year, with people calling almost daily about how they can get on that list. To celebrate, we did host a breakfast for those who sponsored at the American Legion and any families of veterans who would like to participate. Investments this year, since April, when I took the position, we've done about $318 of funds that we've raised and trying to reinvest back into our downtown. Our impact, we have nearly 1,400 volunteer hours between volunteers and staff who have worked on beautification projects and just promoting events and activities downtown. This has actually gone up since of our Christmas activities, but with the 19 downtown events held, we've had 14,112 participants. So we brought that many people right into our downtown. That has gone up. So our wagon rides brought 730 just last weekend, and we had 391 come and visit Santa. So I did not include those numbers in this report, but those will be added. And very exciting, we added 16 board members. So we almost have a complete full board of 15. Another big impact we had this year was our Art Fest, which is an annual festival right downtown. That brought 47 local vendors, and we drew a crowd of 4,100 that day for that.
So looking at 2024, we want to really focus on community engagement. We really want an emphasis to be on inclusion, on diversity, on accessibility. And so as we walk through those components, we're going to look at being able to put some signage in. My day job at Easter Seals, we actually have worked with the Main Street to do a collaborative grant that we're going to be sponsoring. It will be $6,900 that will be contributed to Imagination Alley using Relic Emporium and creating signage that will be aesthetically pleasing, but also create an opportunity for folks who may not be able to read or guide through those components. So we're excited for that. Community engagement, increasing the visits to downtown merchants. We plan on visiting at least 5 businesses a week, creating better relations with the younger generation. Again, ties into some things I'm doing in the day job, but we're looking at expanding esports, expanding some of the opportunities for a retro cafe, some different ideas that could be appealing to multiple generations. And so we'd like to have Main Street be a conduit in that as well.
Which then ties into the downtown master plan that we're adapting with the Trine University and those students trying to pull them down into our downtown.
With board and volunteer growth, we, in the final quarter of the year, were able to find the right candidates to take those board seats. And there are folks who are actively engaging and wanting to be a part of rolling up their sleeves and doing some of the work with Main Street. And so we want to continue to actively promote engagement and make sure that by the end of 2024, we have all those seats filled with people who just want to dig in and take care of downtown. Volunteer opportunities continue to bolster. We're looking at some groups that we can support for young people. And I think one of the coolest things that we have launched with Main Street, and it happened in the last 3 months of the year, the fostering of some programs and being able to actually be a starter for organizations and nonprofits who want to develop and do some of that community work, but don't necessarily have all of the skills they need, getting them connected with the right leadership to be able to learn the skills they need to be able to create those projects. We are growing our donor base. Mac has done Mackenzie. Has done an incredible job working to get more collaboration, more support, and to utilize multiple organizations to get on the same page with our mission.
One of our hopes is that we increase our downtown curb appeal. This has already started with our partnership with Relic and Easter Seals with that, extension and improvement of the already existing alley and artwork in there. Increasing just downtown art, like you speaking to those signage and artistic, not just readability, but visually making that a little more appealing. We currently have a partnership with the City of Angola, so making sure that we increase our, wayfinding and working on activating those park areas and that kind of thing and working with the city to do that. Also encouraging storefronts to work on their displays and making it a little more welcoming downtown for people when they come here. We also want to work on our education and outreach, working on some workshops for business owners, webinars, bringing in some help for where they're struggling as a downtown business to boost that economic vitality.
Helping them learn grant writing processes, how to utilize Okra, how they can do some of the legwork as well to alleviate some of that stress that falls on the city sometimes when folks are looking for needed repairs. There are resources, but it can be a little tricky to navigate. So we want to help with some of that.
And when it goes to the students, not just at Trine, but also at MSD, we're looking to get them a little more involved in volunteer opportunities and such.
So promotion and marketing. We are utilizing social media like it's nobody's business. And we plan to continue to establish more digital marketing that will also convey the beauty that is downtown Angola and make sure that we're growing not only through traditional forms with newspaper and magazine, but that online publication as well.
We've also been in talks about possible billboards, just encouraging more traffic into our downtown and how we can work with the city and Main Street to come together and get some signage on the highway and that to bring them here. The last thing, we have economic vitality, just attracting businesses and growing and developing. So in the last few months, we've had some businesses leave, some businesses come. And with our downtown business plan and those charrettes, there's a need for some more walkable storefronts, for a little more food options, restaurants, those kinds of things. So working on how can we attract those people to our downtown and how can we keep them here? And what is it that the people are looking for? I think bringing in our bakery with the cookies has been a huge success. We have Bigelow, which I think opening on Black Friday and whatnot has been a great addition. And then we just have our list of upcoming events for the next year. We're hoping to kick off January with the Wellness Month, partnering with McKenna, or is that who George wanted to work
Yes.
with? Yeah. For a Wellness Month, maybe doing like a blood drive, just like using Healthies and what they do and promoting those businesses downtown. Tanks, we have a gym right downtown, somehow promoting wellness in January.
McKenna Lot
McKenna,
with the
thank you.
health department.
Women's luncheon, we want to move that. It's been previously done in May, but March is Women Appreciation Month. So moving it to March, we think it's kind of a dreary month, give us something to do and liven up downtown a bit. Wanting to redo our Century Friendly again for Easter, do another Earth Day cleanup. We'd like to hit Historic Preservation Month in May and kind of focus in on the courthouse and its history and what we'll be doing with that. So really trying to come together and figure out what will be done or how we can improve that plan.
We want community engagement and we want to be able to host more opportunities for the community to come together and to talk about those developments. And I think that's something that historically has been missing from the Main Street. And we need to help the city know what's happening from the community perspective. And we can do some of that by hosting those events and coming together and getting the information that's needed.
Another project that was started this year was the youth theater that was held with Trine. So doing that again in June, holding our Food Truck Fridays through the summer from June to September. Again, Art Fest, same weekend it's been for years in August, first weekend. Working together with the downtown businesses for another downtown spectacular trick or treat. We started a scarecrow decorating contest that was received very well. Already have people asking about next year's, so doing that again. The Veterans Day breakfast, which again will kick off the new banners downtown for Hometown Hero. And then going right into our Shop Small Saturdays and our events downtown for Christmas, like wagon rides and Santa's Arrival. So those are the plans for next year. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Or compliments. We'll take compliments.
You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
We love an active, vital, busy downtown. The wagon rides the other day were just absolutely phenomenal, just crowds everywhere.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Yeah, seeing more activity down here is just really good for the whole community, but especially our downtown. And appreciate your hard work, because I know you're working hard. Your board's working hard.
Yep.
We appreciate
Got a good team.
Awesome. Thank you.
it. Yeah,
Well done.
thank you. You know it. Okay, at this time, reports. Clerk Treasurer.
Last week, we received our 1782 notice from the Department of Local Government Finance, and the 2024 budget was approved in full and the tax rates were set. So we're good to go for next year.
Okay,
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Jennifer, you got any voice left?
Yeah. I'd just like to thank everyone who helped out with the wagon rides. They did a great job. It's always a fun event, and also Santa coming to town. It's always a good time. It just is part of the master plan and working with Main Street. There are some conversations. We've heard about the Friends of the Courthouse. So we're working on a collaboration with the city, the county, community foundation, and potentially others to start those next steps into what can the courthouse be in the future. So hopefully we'll have some answers at the next meeting.
Chad.
I know, last meeting you guys brought up the lights down, East Mall Maze, that they're purple. Overseas, they had a problem with the lights being, when they were bought here, turning purple. So their only other really option is change out the heads to them. They're gonna cost probably around $3,600 to change all the heads to them. We can do it in-house.
Total or per light? Total.
So I just wanted to give you that information since you guys brought Was it there up. a reason why they the entire look of them? I mean, it wasn't just. They weren't originally that way. The first one, if you look the farthest one to the west, it's a little more white, but over time, they turn a purplish. I'm talking about the fixture.
Well, yeah.
The entire community.
No, not.
Because
But
the other
the new
ones in the
ones
entire
are-
community are different than those, what, 6, 7?
More than that.
There's 12 of them. I can't count when I drive.
Is he very?
But
There's a reason.
No, you're not.
somebody just brought this up to me today,
Mhm.
and he lives in that area. And he's got a scientific background, but I just wrote an article to you. He said what he thinks has happened is a delamination of those heads. Don't know, but I sent it to you. And obviously residents are very concerned about safety because it's just dark.
Yes, it's a lot darker. I was just thinking it was good for the high school purple.
Right.
Let's try.
What to do it for you. We can do it in the house and change the heads. What's the hornet always over?
He's a Marine now.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So it's gonna be changed.
No, you need us to get it changed. We're gonna have to.
They're not,
If you don't want it purple.
what'd you just say?
I said we'll probably have to change it if you don't want it purple.
Right, okay. Well, so we gotta,
Paper.
We'll make them all purple.
Do you need more money in your budget? That's the question.
That's what I'm asking.
I don't, yeah, probably.
They're handed out to say, yeah.
So yeah, we'll take it.
Chief?
No report.
No report, Mayor. Amanda?
So a few other things while we're on lights. We got a concern about lights on Water Street and that being dark. I met with NIPSCO. There is a pole at the intersection of John Street and Water Street, right at the entrance of Commons Hall. NIPSCO is going to put a light there to try to help with that. I think some of the issue or the complaints that we're receiving, it's when kids are walking to school. All of the lights on Water Street are on the north side. So I think some of it might be that the kids are walking on the south side, which is like the ball fields going to school. In talking with NIPSCO, all of their services are on the north side. However, there's two large poles with lights that light the baseball fields. So the plan is to put this light at the intersection. If we're still getting complaints, then I would recommend that we approach the school and see if we can do some sort of partnership with them, since it's their electricity, their poles, to put a light on one of their poles and turn it to face the south side. So that's Water Street. Also got a concern about the speed of the traffic on William Street at Eastland Crossing. That road is a state route, so I reached out to NDOT on that. I did get a response. So they did a speed study in 2017 after the Fountain subdivision was all up and going. NDOT, they used the engineering recommendation of doing speeds by prevailing speed of traffic, which means they'll look at the speeds that everyone is driving and what they feel comfortable, and then develop a speed limit based on that. So NDOT is saying at this time, they don't feel that Eastland Crossing is built up enough that drivers are going to change that. So their recommendation is to wait until it's built up more, there's more traffic, the characteristics of the roadway and the general traffic have changed before they do that. Passing that back on.
Did you thank them for their concern for our people?
I thank them for their email, yes.
That was the question.
That's all I have.
This is, once again, your big chance. You got none?
Oh, I'm not.
I just like to thank Amanda for taking action on that Water Street. You know, because I've had some constituents making comments about that, would like some changes made. I think that's a great step forward. Put that light in, see how that does, and then we have to go down to the middle of the street, and especially if we can co-op with the high school or with the school, then that would really make a big difference there, because it's mostly before the time changes and they're walking to school in the morning, it's dark. And so that would make a major difference. Thank you, Amanda, for taking immediate action on that.
Didn't have to get in that help.
No, guess we can always work with NIPSCO.
Yeah, okay. County Council Shane, thanks for listening tonight. You got anything you'd like to report?
Nope, just enjoying sitting back here. Sitting in the back row for a change. Appreciate you asking.
That's okay. In other words, you're right, kicked you out of the house. Okay. Okay, anything else?
I've got a couple of things nobody else does. Everybody else done? The 18th, the next council meeting, we will have a open house reception honoring Councilmember Crum, Councilmember Armstrong for their long faithful service to the city. It will be held right after the council meeting here at City Hall. So invite your friends, your family, both of you. The 19th, we're going to have a reception for Mayor Hickman. That will be held at the Commons Hall, which is on the corner of John and Water, right where we're going to have a new light real soon. And that facility, that's 1 to 4, honoring the retiring Mayor Hickman. And then we have one more thing we need to check, but tentatively we're going to schedule a swearing-in ceremony for the new council members and the existing council members on December 20th in the morning at 9:00. We need to double check with Ryan to make sure that we can get that taken care of, and we'll send out emails to everybody affected, but we'll do a new swearing-in ceremony for the new city elected official team.
We have a pavilion they can rent.
And that will be done here soon, regardless what they
Anything else?
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Anybody? If not, there's no other business.
Okay.
Oh, gotta pay the bill.
Oh, we forgot something. Sorry, it's too late. We're not gonna pay the bill.
Sorry about that. Request approval of the allowance accounts payable balance of 66,006 to 66,211, totaling $859,990.04.
Second.
Moved seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thanks for reminding me. No other new business. This meeting is